The night air over London was thick with quiet anticipation, a calm that almost seemed deliberate, as if the city itself held its breath. Behind the gates of Buckingham Palace, whispers had already begun, filtered through loyal aides and palace insiders, hinting at a decision that would shake the very foundations of the monarchy. Reports claim that at 8:45 p.m. on October 23, 2025, a statement quietly emerged, confirming that King Charles III had formally supported a process to remove both Prince Harry and Prince Andrew from the line of succession. The language of the communique was measured, constitutional, almost emotionless. Yet those familiar with the palace's inner workings say the decision was anything but calm. Some royal watchers believe this move had been quietly brewing for months, a combination of public scandal, private disappointment, and the king's own declining health. Sources suggest that Charles, aware of the scrutiny his family faced, felt compelled to draw clear boundaries. For Andrew, the shadow of past controversies, particularly his connection to Jeffrey Epstein, lingered too heavily. And for Harry, the ongoing memoirs, lawsuits, and public critiques of the royal institution seemed to leave no path for reconciliation. In this light, the removal from succession was more than procedural. It was symbolic, a statement about the monarchy's survival and integrity. Palace insiders report that the atmosphere leading up to the announcement was tense but measured. Evening meetings at Clarence House, never officially scheduled, included discussions with Queen Camilla and Prince William. Royal aides claim William's presence was deliberate, his calm, deliberate input shaping the language of the statement itself. Some sources even suggest that he reviewed the final draft, ensuring that it sounded constitutional and not vindictive. Observers say Camilla advocated for careful phrasing, softening the blow without erasing its impact. Outside the palace, the streets were filled with an uneasy mix of curiosity and disbelief. Union Jacks fluttered in the damp October wind, and small clusters of Britons gathered, speculating quietly among themselves. One eyewitness described the scene. People just stood there, staring at the palace as if they were waiting for something impossible to appear. Reports circulating online suggested that many felt this decision was both inevitable and shocking, a reflection of a monarchy forced to choose principle over personal affection. For Prince Andrew, those close to him describe a man isolated, pacing the gardens of Royal Lodge in a state that one friend called resigned but strangely calm. Rumors suggest he had been informed only hours before the public release, leaving little time for preparation. His daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, reportedly tried to shield him from the growing media frenzy, but the headlines reached him anyway. Sources suggest that Andrew, once a figure of privilege and influence, now faced the stark reality of a life outside the circle of royal power. Thousands of miles away in Montecito, California, Prince Harry reportedly learned of the decision through palace contacts. Sources claim he spent several minutes in silence before stepping outside to reflect in the garden. Friends close to the Sussexes told various media outlets that he accepted the news with a quiet resignation. Royal observers suggest that for Harry, the move represented not just a legal or symbolic exclusion, but a deeply personal reckoning with a family and institution he had long struggled to reconcile with. According to reports from palace aides and unverified online chatter, King Charles's own health played a crucial role in the timing. Diagnosed with cancer in early 2024, the king's energy had fluctuated, and those close to him say he grew increasingly concerned about leaving unresolved matters for the next generation. Some insiders claim that late-night consultations, sometimes stretching past midnight, were held to weigh the moral and symbolic implications of formally distancing the crown from two of its most controversial figures. The decision, they say, was heavy with both sorrow and necessity. Public reaction was immediate and divided. Polls suggest that 68% of Britons supported the king's move, viewing it as a protective measure for the monarchy. Social media, however, painted a more nuanced picture. Unconfirmed chatter on X and threads on Reddit's RIE pop culture chat reflected global debate. Some argued that Harry's removal was unfair, given his attempts to establish a separate life and humanitarian work, while others felt Andrew's continued presence would undermine the monarchy's credibility. Sources claim that palace officials were monitoring these conversations closely, aware that public perception might matter more than legal formalities. Within the royal household, the emotional toll was profound. Observers report that Queen Camilla remained composed but deeply affected, emphasizing the human cost of the decision. Prince William, according to insiders, approached the process with a mixture of pragmatism and sorrow, understanding that the future of the monarchy required clarity, even if it came at the expense of family harmony. Rumors circulating online suggest that late-night strategy sessions included private debates about whether language should frame the action as a constitutional process or a moral realignment, a distinction that might sound minor but carried enormous weight within the palace. Across the Commonwealth, the decision rippled outward. Political commentators in Canada, Australia, and New Zealand debated the symbolic implication, while late-night news programs in the United States framed it as a generational shift, a monarchy choosing stability and accountability over sentiment. Royal historians on BBC forums and Reddit threads suggested that this move might be unprecedented in modern times, a rare example of a sovereign acting decisively to safeguard the institution at the expense of personal relationships. As the dust settled over London, the palace reportedly returned to routine, but the quiet tension lingered. Royal aides claim that Charles continued to work tirelessly, reading dispatches and attending engagements despite his health. A reflection of a sovereign determined to preserve both his legacy and the monarchy itself. Sources say William assumed a more visible role, signaling continuity and stability, while Camilla maintained her role as the quiet moral anchor of the family. In the end, insiders suggest this was more than a decision about titles or succession. It was a reflection of the complex interplay between duty, loyalty, and the public's expectation. The king's choice, framed as constitutional necessity, carried deeply personal ramifications. Harry and Andrew, once central to the monarchy's image, now occupy a space outside the immediate path of power. A reminder that even those born into privilege are not immune to the consequences of scandal, estrangement, and public scrutiny. Royal observers on X have speculated that this move may set a precedent, signaling that the monarchy's survival depends as much on perception and moral standing as it does on birthright. Forums and discussions continue to explore what this means for future heirs, the role of Prince William, and the evolving expectations of a global audience watching closely. Some suggest it could mark a new era of merit-based accountability within the monarchy, while others fear it has exacted an irreversible cost to family unity. For the British public, the image of the king signing the statement, quiet, resolute, and solitary, has already become iconic. It symbolizes the paradox of monarchy, a union of duty, legacy, and sacrifice, carried out under public scrutiny, yet lived behind private walls. Sources close to the palace say Charles whispered to Camilla after the signing, "I have done what is necessary for the crown, but I will always remain their father." That single line, insiders claim, captures the essence of the knight's decision, a balance of authority and heartbreak. As London's skyline reflected the late autumn rain, the world was left to grapple with a profound question. Can institutions survive only on principle, or must human bonds always endure? The whispers, speculation, and insider reports suggest that for King Charles, the answer was clear. Even if it demanded a sacrifice no family should ever be asked to make. And for Harry and Andrew, the move will forever define their place within a monarchy, at once enduring, fragile, and relentlessly scrutinized. In the quiet aftermath, as candles flickered outside the palace gates and headlines circulated across continents, the story remained unfinished. Royal watchers continue to debate, online communities dissect every nuance, and global audiences reflect on what it means to wield power, maintain legacy, and face the cost of decisions that intertwine family and crown. For those observing from afar, the event serves as a mirror, a reminder that even the most privileged are bound by choices, consequence, and the weight of history. And so, the night passed, London remained still, and the House of Windsor moved forward into a future reshaped by necessity, whispers, and the quiet courage to confront what could no longer be ignored. For King Charles III, the act may be one of legacy. For the world, it is a story that will echo for generations, inviting reflection, debate, and speculation on the true cost of upholding a crown.